everyone. Welcome back, entrepreneurs, to another episode of the Startup Sandwich Podcast. I'm your host, Ric Phillips. With me today is Leigh Mitchell. Hello, Leigh. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Rick?
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Before we get to know you and what you do with personal branding and all these things and what do we do with your story, I want to ask you a question. I guess it's a bit of possibly a myth. You tell me, true or false. You need to have a big success story before building a personal brand. True or false?
I'm going to say it's neither true nor false. And the reason is that you don't need to have a big story. What you need is a why or a defining moment. I think that most entrepreneurs end up in business because of some form of big moment in their life. For me, it was having no childcare and realizing that I needed to leave my cushy government job in order to be a mother. And that led me to starting a business. So I think everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And so that's what is the secret sauce.
I wonder, from your experience, would you say is the percentage, loosely, the percentage of entrepreneurs who, while they're developing their business plan, their pitches, all that stuff, they don't include their personal story?
You know, I do a lot of research, even with my client sponsors, and I'm actually shocked. The majority of them, I would say like 70%, don't have a backstory, don't have an interesting the why behind the what. And I think that is really a defining part of a brand that is missing in a lot of cases. So,
and this is a good time to go a bit deeper. There could be entrepreneurs out there listening to us who are going, well, I didn't want to talk about my founder story because maybe they don't think it's a big deal. Maybe they think it's just, well, I worked here and I just through my work, I discovered something and decided, whatever their excuse. Let's you and I chat a bit about why it's important that they do identify what it was that got them started into the, entrepreneurship and why they need to bring that story to light.
Well, that's a great question. And it's really important to really think about that when you start a business, because whatever leads you to start a business, you really need to be passionate about it because it's not easy, right? It's never an overnight success story. Like, I'm sure. And it needs to be something that is near and dear to your heart, right? So for me, I started Women in Biz Network because I was raised by a single mom. I had strong women in my life, and I also didn't feel necessarily supported in my corporate life and wanted flexibility and wanted to help others. So that keeps me going, right? Your mission, your values, it's a big part of your story.
When you share, not to take anything away from a mission statement, I don't want to get it wrong, but I'm just going to put mission statement aside for now. When you share your story, for example, a keynote, an introduction to your company, your organization, what is that doing? Again, I just want this for the audience to really go through. What is it doing for your audience at that moment? What do you know, or what are you trying to make happen when you are on purpose sharing your founder story?
Yeah, well, I think what you're doing is you're creating a relationship, right? You're building trust and credibility by being sometimes vulnerable. You're also giving your stakeholders or the people that you're connecting with an opportunity to get to know the why because most people want to do business with others when they're connected to their purpose. And so if it's just the what, it's really not that impactful.
Right. Since we're mentioning why, I think we have to bring up Simon Sinek. Yeah. And again, there could be some people out there who don't know him. So briefly speaking, for those of you out there, Simon Sinek had a very successful not just a book, a TED Talk, several videos on YouTube with Know Your Why. So obviously this resonated with you as well, I guess. So can you paraphrase a little bit of what you understand that to be and why the entrepreneurs need to get clear on what their why is?
Yeah. So, I think that, it's really very quite simple. Essentially, people are not apt to work with you because of what you do. because, it can be very boring, like Julie Cole of Mabel's Labels. I love her story, right? She's like, labels are boring. No one wants to talk about labels. So she talks about having 6 kids and how she was a lawyer and started her business with her sisters. And, that really connects us. Like, okay, this woman, she's a mother of 6. She must know how to keep my kids' stuff from getting lost, and that sort of thing, right? So to me, it just makes storytelling that much easier. And most entrepreneurs that are successful and their brands do well are ones that have a good story. And I mean, that, Rick, like you're a communications expert, so you know the importance of good communication skills, and people remember stories more than they remember things.
It's a very good point. People remember stories. We are storytellers, drawing pictures on the cave walls a long time ago, whatever we could do to communicate, even over language barriers, we're storytellers. And today, sometimes people are so smart, they're dumb. It's just a cute way of saying it, right? They overthink it and they don't realize that just tell a story, right? Connect. When we think of some famous brands, it could be anything. I'll just throw a few out there. The founder of Apple, the founder of Starbucks, Tim Hortons. We often think about the personality and the story, right? So that story really sticks. If we talk to, let's say, a new entrepreneur, maybe someone you meet through your business, and they say something to the effect of, well, I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm not, Howard. I don't have that type of story. It's just, how do you work with them to encourage them and discover them and help them discover that they need to find that story, they need to get it out?
Yeah, like I think that people underestimate themselves.
Yes.
And I'll take it a step further and say that especially women or people that come from a more marginalized background, they are maybe in some cases almost ashamed of their story. And so they don't want to share that. And especially if you're an entrepreneur who's of an older generation, that is taboo. You don't talk about your story. You don't talk about the mistakes or the challenges or the defining moments. That's private.
Right.
I grew up that way. You don't talk about you don't talk about the family secrets.
You don't air your dirty laundry in public.
That's right. That's right. And I've actually, and to a certain extent, I grew up with that as part of my DNA and my family origin. But now, in the last couple of years, I've realized what's the worst that can happen telling your story? It makes you more memorable.
It does.
And those that love you will love you, and those that don't, they're not your people. They're not your customers. And it's better that you sort that out, because you can't work with everybody and you can't please everybody.
Right. Exactly right. We don't want everybody to buy whatever product. It's got to be, we're trying to help a certain population, a certain target market, and we want to resonate with them. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Good. When I teach something like, let's say, networking skills or something like this, there's a little formula I use sometimes. I have the word help, and then I have 3 things like, who do you help? How do you help? And why do you help?
Ooh.
The first 2 are so easy for the average entrepreneur. Who do you help? Well, that's your target market. How do you help? Well, here's my product and service. Why do you help? Why do you help them? And a lot of them go, So I believe this really connects with what we're talking about, that the entrepreneur, whether in for-profit, nonprofit, they've got to really do the homework and find out, why is it that they're going to hang their shingle up? Why is it they're going to go out there and do this? It cannot, if they say, well, secretly I want to make money. Everybody's allowed to make money. No one said you can't make money. Even in a nonprofit world, you can make money so the organization survives. But why? Why are you out there doing it, right? And so this, I think, is very much connected to personal branding.
Yeah, no, true. And you could take that a step further and say, why you, right? Like, why should I work with you?
Right.
And so that's really important. It's really important to understand why they care and why I care, because that's what's going to keep me going.
Right.
And people have to feel connected to you and know why they want to work with you, because that will sustain them through, maybe challenging times.
Sure. The ups and downs of entrepreneurship.
Exactly.
I want to talk to you about this phrase called personal branding. There's a lot, everybody sort of knows it. It's like executive presence. We've heard it, right? And okay, personal branding. But I would like to know your take on it. What does that mean to you? And how do you define it? Because you are in this space. You're an expert of personal branding. So what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So, it's funny. When I started my business, I really don't even know if I'd even heard that term. But as soon as I was exposed to it, I was really taken with it because personal branding is so much more than just I sell a product or a service. It's it's what makes you who you are and how you show up to the world and how people receive you and what they think about you and the impression, how you make them feel after you leave a room, right? That's so important. And so I started really getting into it and studying it. And I went through my own personal journey with personal branding because I have changed careers and business direction many times. And so every time I was like, okay, well, how do I make this all to come together? And one of the threads that I realized in all of this is that you're always going to be you.
Right.
So you got to lead with that to a certain extent. Of course, you may want to sell your business and, it can't live on you, right? Because if you get sick, someone else needs to be able to pick up the slack and do what you do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it has to have a personality. It has to have an essence. And I've actually developed my own framework called Own Your Imprint. And it could be considered a bit controversial because Own Your Imprint is your mistakes, your challenges, your defining moments, the things that you know, and also most importantly, the things that you don't know. Because as entrepreneurs, we're always just figuring things out.
Right.
Like I haven't heard an entrepreneur that hasn't been stumped. And right now, in this day and age, in the age of information, the explosion of the digital age, we're overwhelmed.
Right.
And there's a lot we don't know because new software and new technology and new challenges are being thrown at us every single day. And AI, I know there's a lot of controversy around AI. Reese Witherspoon she went viral talking about it and saying like that so many of her mom friends in her book club don't know about it or don't know how to use it, but their kids are using it. It's also the age of AI has seriously impacted women in business and professionally. And so if they don't figure it out, they're going to be left behind. And that's difficult because we also know that there's a lot of serious impacts about it, ethical bias, environmental impacts. But it's staying with us. Whether we like it or not, it's here.
Right.
So, I think that that's something that is really important to focus on is that part of your developing your personal brand is figuring out how to see through the sea of overwhelm. What channels are you on? How are you communicating? Are you podcasting? Are you on YouTube? What is it that is going to make you connect with your audience? And so I think that's probably personal branding and deciding how to have yourself show up publicly is probably one of the most stressful things that an entrepreneur has to deal with and figure out.
It's not just the pitching; it's your reputation precedes you. It's
exactly.
how when you're building a team, it's what your team will expect of you. And even if you're not in the office, this is the way Leigh wants us to do this. This is the way Ric wants us to do this. It's that personal branding, even when you're not in the room. Very, very important. Now, we're going to talk about teaching a little bit. So, you are currently teaching some courses with YEDI. But I also know you teach at YorkU, et cetera. So could you talk a little bit about, again, whatever you'd like to say,
Sure.
What types of courses you teach and what you enjoy about it?
Yeah, so I just love working with YEDI. I've had the pleasure of teaching a sales and promotions course to students, and I've actually become friends with some of the students, and they've attended retreats, and we've stayed in touch. I love your community. I also teach at the University of Guelph Humber and York, and also doing some teaching and guidance at Y Space and some other incubators. And so I teach entrepreneurship. I teach digital marketing, AI, project management is one of the most recent things that I'm teaching, and personal branding. I teach personal branding in every single course because it's so important.
Yeah. Excellent, and that's the thing is that you teach it and you live it, and you have organizations that are trying to grow and help people understand why these things are so important. I want to also give you a chance to talk about this word change maker, right? Mm-hmm. So once again, for people that may have heard it, may not, you certainly talk about change makers. Tell us a little bit about what that means to you and maybe about how you've incorporated that into your business.
Thanks for asking. Change maker. So change making and being a change maker is one of the reasons, it's one of my whys. It's why I want to be in business. I want to make a difference. I want to leave a legacy. I want to make an impact through my business activities and the business that, the impression and how I teach and interact with people. I believe in inclusivity and supporting others. So I consider that change making is essentially being the best version of yourself, right? So personal change making and inner leadership, and then also global and social impact. And there's good evidence, and I'm sure it's a big part of why YEDI exists, is that people want to do business with those that are making a difference through their business, right? They're giving back. They're leaving a positive imprint on the world. So it's good for business. It's good for feeling good about what you do, and it keeps you going on dark days.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Earlier, you mentioned an organization called Women in Biz. Is that correct? Women in Biz?
Women in Biz Network. Yeah.
Women in Biz Network.
Yeah.
Could you tell our audience a little bit about what that is and what it does?
Yeah. So I started Women in Biz Network 15 years ago. In that defining moment of having a childcare emergency. My husband was traveling all over the world, and I also knew I had some really strong feelings about the support that I felt women needed in the workplace. And a lot of women, because they weren't getting that support, were starting businesses. And in the digital age, it was at the start of not the start of the digital age, but early days of Twitter, LinkedIn, those platforms now called X, Twitter, X. Yep. It was before Instagram, but we had websites. We didn't even have webinar technology at that stage. But what we did have was a need for women to get support, education, and encouragement, and the permission to, build businesses to succeed. And so over the last 15 years, I've mentored over 1,200 members through our mentorship program, myself and many mentors that we brought into the program. And we hosted national conferences across Canada. And women were coming to get come for networking, come for education and advice and support, and to feel less isolated. And so that grew into, working not only with entrepreneurs, but those in transition. It really became a bit of a huge need during the Me Too movement when professional women in corporate environments were trying to navigate some, challenging situations in their work settings and not knowing what to do. And so, we would invite them to have very private and meaningful conversations. We've had some really amazing success stories of people starting nonprofits, starting successful businesses, scaling their businesses. Some closed down, other, it's
the nature of entrepreneurship.
The nature of entrepreneurship. People go in different directions. But I think it left a positive imprint on those that it touched.
Is this organization, Women in Biz Network, still open?
It is. In fact,
so I just want to say the reason why is if there's women out there listening, I'd love for them to know how to connect with.
Yeah, we just relaunched a monthly membership. I'm very aware of the fact that we're living in a challenging time right now. Inflation, the cost of living, tariffs. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world right now. So we have a monthly membership. And we support through online maker workshops. So we focus on helping women to build AI literacy skills, how to build their personal brand through the use of different AI and marketing technology, networking. But we also focus a lot on inner leadership. And that's something that I wasn't aware that I and others maybe needed back when I started my business. But I joke around, and I've joked around on stage saying that I didn't know I needed a therapist until I started a business. Right.
Probably a lot of entrepreneurs are agreeing with you right now. Exactly. Licensed or unlicensed, I need a therapist. If there's women out there right now that either are interested in entrepreneurship or struggling a bit or transitioning with their career, that might be something they might be interested to. So is there a website they should go to?
Yes. Yeah. So we have Women in Biz Network, and it's biznetwork.com, and Women in Business now.com, where they can get all of the latest information on becoming a member and what the benefits are of becoming a member.
Great. Excellent. Do you find that I'm going to go a completely different direction?
Sure.
In your experience working with various entrepreneurs, women, men, students at universities, adults, do you find there's any, I don't want to say differences or sameness, but something interesting that stands out between the entrepreneurs in the nonprofit charity world versus the entrepreneurs you meet in the for-profit world? Do you find there's anything interesting or unique, or the way that they either get started or the way they're able to connect to your ideas or learn? Is there anything you've seen a difference of how they are as entrepreneurs?
Well, as of recent, I think that because of the lack of funding, changes in policies around getting access to funding, I think we're in a pretty challenging time for nonprofits and social enterprises. So I think that there is a bit of a fallacy that we can't make money. Well, we know we can make money, but we need to reinvest it back into our mission. And so a lot of nonprofits are figuring out how they can make money for their business and reinvest it. So I think there's a lot of change management going on within I hear a lot from, I have a lot of friends in the nonprofit world. And that's the biggest challenge that they're having is keeping their doors open.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so when you were meeting people who are new entrepreneurs or they want to be entrepreneurs, how do we keep them feeling that it's that there is light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah.
What do we do for those entrepreneurs, the new ones?
Yeah, the new ones. So the new ones, you need to focus on your numbers. And in an MVP is so a minimal viable product, your hero product or service, whatever that is, and really get that very established and solid before you try to expand into other services. I think that sometimes that can be a bit of a problem for new entrepreneurs is they go full in and they don't test and they don't see how it's actually responding. And then it's even harder to pivot. So, I talk about disruptive business models and, all the major, very successful tech companies follow a disruptive business model, right? So they have innovative growth hacking, growth marketing strategies to grow their businesses without spending a ton of money, which we have to be careful about the money that we spend. And we also have to be really not just looking at the bottom line, like how much money did I bring in today? But like, let's say you're a consultant who helps, you're a fundraising consultant, and you have a business that's a retainer, right? And you have these, you say, okay, well, I've got these 5 clients on retainer, and I'm good now. But we got to see, like, how much are they utilizing all of the services that you provide, because the money that we need to be, the numbers that we need to be looking at aren't now.
Right.
It's like, how many people are actually that are your clients, how many are fully utilizing all of what you offer them. And if they're not, then you have to think about, how can I train them to ensure that they fully understand the value of what you're providing them, because if they don't, then they may not renew. So while the numbers look good today, if they don't renew, then you're in trouble. And that's sort of what I realized when I was a business owner, when I worked with sponsors. I wasn't preparing enough for the future. And my North Star metric was how I was doing today. But what, they talk about North Star metric, and it's more like, how many people are utilizing every aspect of the software? How many people are interacting with each other? Like, let's say, like if we were looking at HubSpot, right? Mm-hmm. So HubSpot would be like, okay, they have these amount of sales agents using the software, and they look at the daily use numbers, right? So it's not revenue, it's daily use.
Right.
Because if they're not using that software daily, then there's a good chance that they're probably not going to renew the software, because they don't see the value in using it. Right. So I think that's what I learned, is just the challenge of thinking that if you're good today, you're fine forever.
Right.
And that's generally a way to end up in hot water.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the entrepreneurs out there have to understand that it's absolutely okay to celebrate your wins today, or your bank account, or your sponsorships, whatever it might be, but do some future proofing, look ahead and make sure. And if you're not sure, find out, get some numbers to your point, right? Yeah. If you don't have numbers, you can't measure. If you can't measure, you can't predict. So you got to get some numbers in there.
So do some research on North Star metrics, because it's not the revenue you're making today. And that's something that I didn't know. And when I realized that, it changed how I operate my business.
Very good. Very good. Simply speaking, when I'm talking to entrepreneurs or teaching them, I would say something like, you've got to have your story and you got to have your numbers. Of course, there's many different aspects to it, but simply speaking, that's kind of the way it is, right? You've got to have your story so people listen, remember, connect your personal brand, understand what the problem you're trying to solve. And you got to have some numbers, some credibility to back up what you're saying, right? So I think the personal branding things that you're involved in, that you teach, very much important to that aspect of storytelling and making sure that the entrepreneur really can communicate what they're trying to do and why it's important, right?
Right.
Exactly. That's going to be something that some people are more comfortable with than others, but they all have to go through it. So what do we do with the people that are shy? What do we do with the people, maybe the people that are very numbers oriented and, I'll just build an app and I'll just be back here just building stuff for them, right? It's like, no, you got to come out and talk to people. How do we train them? How do we teach them?
Yeah, they say the best person to sell for your company is the owner, because you're the most invested and you generally know how to sell or connect or create value, solve a problem, right? You best know it, because I hate saying the word baby, because I feel like we get too wrapped up in our identity of like it being so close to us that when something really goes wrong, we're like, it's our baby. And how am I ever going to survive? That's why, unfortunately, there's a high suicide rate amongst entrepreneurs, because sometimes they feel like, oh my gosh, like there's like, how do I ever recover from this? But, and unfortunately, my father, who owned a resort when I was growing up, he was that person. He did not recover from that. But I would say that you have to find what works for you. So first of all, don't go chasing fads or like, oh, everybody's on TikTok, so I need to be on TikTok. And you know what you're doing. You feel uncomfortable. You burn yourself out. Don't do that. Find what feels good to you. It's never going to feel 100% natural, because nothing feels natural until you get used to it. Like, I just wrote a Substack article about how I was deadly afraid of public speaking. Like, and then I, what do? I go and I start a business where I'm on stage and I'm an educator.
Right.
You can change. Yeah. We have the neuroplasticity that we can create new neurons, and we can actually learn new skills and train ourselves to do things that maybe feel uncomfortable. But I would say take baby steps. So for example, do podcasts before you get on a stage. Before you get on a stage, be on a panel. If you like small events, go to those first and then work your way to a bigger event. Change is done better when you do it in small, manageable steps, baby steps, right? So, when you join a gym, don't say, oh, I'm going to go every day. I'm going to use every piece of equipment. No, just say, I'm going to go I'm going to just set a goal to go once a week.
Right.
And then once I'm successful at that, then I'm going to go twice a week.
Right.
And so you can do the same thing with personal branding, is you just keep building on it.
Right. Very good. It reminds me of the very first time, this is semi-related, the very first time I had a TV interview, national TV live, way back in the day. It was because it was around New Year's time, and everybody was writing articles about how to achieve your New Year's resolutions. And I wrote a blog, which was why 90% of New Year's resolutions fail. It's just a blog, but some intern at CBC picked it up, read it, and said, this is cool because it's a counterpoint. And so that's how I got my first national TV interview, was just, writing down some thoughts, being a little bit truthful and taking a counterpoint of view. And next thing you know, it was like, well, that's interesting. Let's get this guy on. So it was nervous, but it was fun. Luckily, I had a very good interviewer, and that she made things really, really easy for me because she was so natural and made things so easy. But after you get the first one done, then you're okay with the second, and you try something else. And just next thing you know, you're on, as you say, different interviews, podcasts, you're public speaking, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like having just sort of try to stick to one theme, little bite-sized pieces of information. When I'm nervous, I babble. And so it's really important to know up front, like, what is the one thing that you want your audience to take away?
Oh, I love it.
And I know with you being a communications expert, and, you spoke to my students at York, you were amazing. I love your videos.
Thank you.
I learned a lot from you, and I continue to really admire the work that you do. I follow you closely.
Don't talk about me. This is about you.
So I'm just curious if I could ask you one question. Did you take did you do media training? Because that's one tip that you sort of got in my head as I was digesting the question. That's probably one of the most terrifying things.
So what happened?
Is media.
What happened with me was, I'll answer that question by talking about a long time ago. I was on a different podcast, Evan Carmichael. I think you know Evan Carmichael.
Yes, yeah.
So a long time ago, when I was first starting out, I was on a at that time it was a YouTube video interview, and it was about giving away public speaking tips. That was my role. Anyway, we spoke for an hour. We didn't really talk about public speaking. We talked about a variety of other things. But one thing he asked me was, essentially my personal branding story was like, did you have some challenges with public speaking when you were younger? Did you have this? Were you introverted? I'm like, no. So, but to his point, it's really interesting if you do. Like if someone's a stutterer and then they overcome it. If someone is shy, then they overcome it. It's a great story if it's true. In my case, it wasn't true. I was born outgoing enough and a decent speaker. I think for me, my high school drama teacher, who will never, ever be famous, was key in helping me understand how to present information, how to speak with certain rhythm. I think there were things I picked up I didn't realize I would need in the future. I think that was a big chunk of what made me comfortable in different aspects of talking. in public. And then from then on, experience is the best teacher.
I love that story. There's a story. Like I'm captivated by that, right? Because it's interesting. One of my sons had a stuttering issue. And so we got him involved in improv. Mm-hmm. He loved it so much that he auditioned and got into Etobicoke School of the Arts. And nice. He's a shy, introverted person. That really helped him. Yeah. It's amazing how you can, I think that's another good tip for entrepreneurs is figure out a zone of creativity and lean into it. Yeah. Because it gets you in a flow state and it doesn't feel like work.
No, it doesn't. By the way, did you see The King's Speech?
I did.
Great, isn't it?
Isn't that an amazing movie?
Really great. Okay. We're going to wrap this up slowly. The reason why we call it the startup sandwich is because we like to think of a business like a sandwich, where the bread is the foundation, kind of how you began, and the inside of the sandwich, the vegetable or perhaps meat, is kind of the product and service. But we always think that a good sandwich has a very nice secret sauce, right? So in entrepreneurship, it's probably innovation. So you can answer this question as you like. Either what's your secret sauce as an entrepreneur? Or what, if you want to mention one of your businesses that you think has a very special secret sauce, you can let our audience know what it is. So what's the secret sauce for you?
What a cool question. I love that. My secret sauce is, I think I'm easy to talk to. And I think that when people connect with me, they take away and something actionable, and they do that feeling good about themselves. I think that because I guess if I take it a step further, my secret sauce is I see things in people that they don't see in themselves.
That's it.
So that's my secret sauce.
That's it.
There. I said it.
That's beautiful. I love it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's great. If people want to connect with you to maybe ask some questions or just connect in general, where's the best place?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. So people can look for me on LinkedIn. It's Leigh, Leigh Mitchell. And I'm also, the Women in Biz Network site. And then I'm on social media, Changemaker Leader across all platforms. I'm on YouTube, Substack, Instagram.
All the fun ones.
All the fun ones.
Thank you so much, Leigh, for joining us. It's wonderful to talk to you. I know you, but I don't. I like to say so. I got to get to know you even better. And the information you've shared with our audience is going to be very, very valuable to them. I know that. So
thank you.
Thank you, Leigh, and see you around the YEDI campus.
Sounds good.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. And be sure to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you check out your podcasts. Until next time, keep turning small bites into big wins.